Okay. 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 There we go. Welcome. Happy Thursday. I know some folks are still coming in, so yeah, make sure to get seated. Hey, some folks on Zoom, thanks for joining. As y'all can see, this is a little schedule. This is our first hybrid meeting, so thanks to the folks coming in person. Really exciting. So yeah, as folks get settled in, I'll be kind of going through like the welcome slides and everything like that, like we usually do. And of course, you know, all of the co-chairs are here. So Ayana, Mr. Charles, and also myself as the youth co-chair. So yeah, I'm really excited to be in person. And really excited to have like a hybrid meeting space. Okay, so the first thing about this meeting is, yeah, it's a hybrid, so it's a hybrid meeting, so that's really cool. It's also going to be a little different because we're really trying to make sure that this meeting we get a lot of feedback from all of the CSC members because we know things could be better, things could be improved, and we really want to hear that from you. And most importantly, we want to make sure that in this space we have a really good foundation, really good relationship, and really good trust, so we can really make sure we're working towards better air quality. So of course, right now we're going to welcome interpretation. We'll kind of go through some community agreements. After that, the bulk of the meeting is really going to be a discussion hearing from everybody. So we'll have kind of some discussion in person, and then we'll also have a breakout room for the virtual session. We'll have a short little break, and then we'll kind of talk more about next steps, strategy statements, what all that'll look like, and then we'll kind of like close out. So yeah. First thing is that, yeah, since we're hybrid, we have a few new community agreements and notes for participation that we want to make sure we uphold. So of course, as usual, one mic, one voice, we want to make sure we're listening to everybody. If you're in person, you can raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, you can use the raise hand feature. Also, we also have those cute little Zoom reactions and emojis. So if you're feeling like something is resonating with you, make sure to drop an emoji. Also have grace for yourselves, have grace for ourselves and each other. This is our first hybrid meeting, so yeah, please be patient with us. Next, make sure to take care of yourself, both in person and also online. Bio break, stretching, getting water, food, whatever you might need. Of course, as always, make sure we have mutual respect for everybody in the room and on Zoom, and that we're empowering each other and really active listening to all of the kind of comments and feedback. Next, for folks specifically on Zoom, like I mentioned, you can use the raise hand feature, and then also you have some reaction emojis. So drop a thumbs up, drop a heart, anything like that. And then finally, if there's any specific questions, if you're in person, of course you can raise your hand, talk to CPE staff or backman staff. If you're on Zoom, drop your question in the chat, and staff will be responding as well. So yeah, we're gonna be doing some community building. So yeah, we want to make sure that folks who are in person, we just got finished eating, so I know people have been talking amongst themselves, but make sure to say hi to your neighbor. Hi neighbor. If you're on Zoom, make sure to drop your name, your pronouns, and your org in the chat. We still want to make sure we're hearing from y'all. But yeah, this might be your first time seeing someone outside of the little Zoom box, so yeah. And if you're a CSC member on Zoom and you're not able to, come off or not able to put yourself in the chat, let us know and we can have you come off mute to speak aloud. So yeah, hopefully that gets everybody in the right mindset for our conversation today. Before we kind of get into our actual discussion, I'm gonna actually pass it to, BACMed, and we're gonna have an announcement from the Air District's Air Pollution Control Officer.
Hi there, can everyone hear me? Okay, so great to see some of you tonight. I've met some of you before. I haven't met other of you. I will meet all of you at some point in the future. So just thanks for providing me just a little bit of time tonight to address you. So for those of you I haven't met, my name is Philip Fine. I'm the Executive Officer of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. I've been with the district for just about a year. In that role as executive officer, I oversee essentially all of the air district functions, and obviously that includes the AB 617 program, the resources, and the staffing with AB 617. Just before I joined the district, I worked at US EPA. I was appointed by President Biden to work at EPA in the Office of Policy. I worked on a bunch of cross-agency policy issues, regulations, but my primary area was environmental justice. I served as the EPA's environmental justice officer, and I led EPA's implementation of the President Biden's Justice 40 initiative. I'm no stranger to AB 617. Before I went to EPA, I was at the South Coast Air Quality Management District. That's the LA, Riverside, San Bernardino, Orange County Air District, Southern California Air District version of the Bay Area Air District for 15 years. And towards the end of that, I led the AB 617 efforts there. I had 5 communities I was working in before I left to go to Washington, D.C. So all this experience, both at EPA and at South Coast, I do recognize the value of truly partnering with communities, just like we're trying to do here in East Oakland. And I just want to recognize all the time and all the effort that all of you are putting into this important work. I appreciate your commitment to this community. You have our commitment to this community, and your work on strategies to reduce emissions and improve the well-being of this East Oakland community is gonna pay dividends. We're committed to a strong and productive partnership with you all, the CSC, CBE as our co-lead, to develop effective and comprehensive community emission reduction plan. One thing that's clear from all this work in AB 617 across the Bay Area communities and all across the state is that this isn't easy work. These are different roles for both community members and agency staff working in true partnership. We know historically that has not been the case, and we're trying to fix that, and we're all learning as we go forward. There's going to be disagreements and tensions, and this is normal. Every community has had that across the state. We should all just, as that's happening, keep in mind that we all share the same goals, the same sense of urgency for action, but also ensuring that the process is truly community driven. So we just all want to work together as you develop your plan that will bring real improvements to the East Oakland community. I want you to know that our staff, just like I am, is fully committed to this process. Day to day, the staff are working with all of you and doing the hard work. They're regularly in touch with me and the other deputies, keeping us updated and posted on the work and any additional needs that you might have. And we're eager to provide you with whatever you need to get this process moving forward. Because of the importance of this work and our shared desire to keep the process on track, I do want to say I'm truly sorry about the recent Air District email to CSC members and its poor timing regarding an issue at our Regional Community Advisory Council. It caused additional stress for those involved. It was an unnecessary distraction from the hard work of the CSC. Marcia Raymond, our acting Deputy Executive Officer, will speak a little bit more to this in a little bit. But I truly do want to move past that and move forward on a positive foot, working with the CSC co-chairs. Again, we're committed to agenda setting in conjunction with the co-chairs and CBE. We all need to keep in mind the time it takes to create materials and translate them and be transparent in our work with the full CSC. But we're committed to ensuring this strong partnership process is between the community and the Air District continues. We have been and will continue to be flexible. We are listening to the community, and we can switch some things up as we go along. But again, we all have this shared desire to keep the process moving forward. You've waited a long time to be selected as AB 617 community to do a SERP, but you have all done your work even before this to address air pollution in your neighborhoods, and we respect that work and want to just amplify that work. You are making great progress leading to a SERP, and we thank you for your dedication. Having been in this process in other communities, I've seen it work well. It can actually make real changes that will benefit your community. It has in West Oakland, it has in several Southern California communities, it has across the state. I know we're just getting started, but I do have high hopes. So tonight, staff will look forward to your constructive feedback, how we can always improve this process and make sure it meets your needs. I'm really excited about what each of you bring to the table and the future of this community. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Acting Deputy Executive Officer for Equity and Community Programs, Marcia Raymond. So Marcia, are you on?
And Marcia, if you can, keep your remarks very brief so we can keep the schedule going. Dr. Fine, thanks so much for sharing.
All right, thank you. Hi, I'm Marcia Raymond, and I am the Acting Deputy Executive Officer for the Community Programs. I'm also Assistant Counsel to the CAC and also the Richmond Richmond Center. I'm here tonight, and I'm made out. Can you hear me? What's okay? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So at the request of the co-chairs, I'm here tonight to apologize for the email that was sent out a couple of months ago. Not on Friday. Phil apologized as well, but Doug stops with me and went out with my name. So I understand the pain that it caused Mr. Charles, as well as distraction that it created for the CSC. And so I'm standing here now to apologize for that. Hoping that with me standing here with this apology that we can, move on from that and, go forward with the critical work that you guys are doing for your community. I appreciate you allowing me to be here as well as all the hard work that you all do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcia. Really appreciate that. And Mr. Charles, we know you want to respond. Could you share rather briefly?
You guys can understand why I didn't get the phone. But I just appreciate appreciate the apology. I've been working with BACMed since 2020. And since I started working with Ms. Morgan, I've been dedicated to this work. And my name means something to me. I earned that name. And so we're gonna move forward with this because the work is what's most important. And I care about East Oakland with all my heart. This to me, I'm authentically Oakland, and I love it. And I want to see us come together with the trust that we need to have a legitimate partnership. But I need to make this clear is that it has not up until this point been a community-led process. And I'm letting our group know that because that's what I fight for. That's what Michaela fight for. That's what Ayana fight for us to have a community-led process. And that's what Dr. Phil Farr promised us, that moving forward, it would be a community-driven process where the wishes of our community members are met. And that's what we want to see done. We want to see the community members' voices in East Oakland heard, listened to, and acted upon. And that's why you guys elected us as co-chairs, and that's what I stand on. And I just represent y'all with all my heart because that's what I believe in. And thank you.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Carly from CDE. Nice to see everyone here. We're gonna go over just a CSC member guided discussion here with some breakout rooms that'll happen later. Really wanting to get your guys' feedback on how to, better the meetings for you all and really center you all. So also just want to say thank you so much for everyone who called me back or was, having a conversation with me about the space, and I really appreciate the time that you spent talking with me, so thank you. So just an overview of what's gonna happen. We're gonna talk about the purpose of the CERT, some CERT milestones from Felicia, roles and responsibilities within the CERT process, participation, principles reminder, and then we're gonna have 2 breakout room discussions. So one, upholding agreements and CSC meetings and a report out, and then secondly, a CSC meetings and CERT process and report out. And there will be 2 breakout rooms, so one will be in person, one will be online, just to make that easier. And yeah, looking forward to that. So just a reminder of what the purpose of the CERT is. It's from Assembly Bill 617. It requires the development of a community emission reduction plan to reduce the emissions of toxic air contaminants and criteria pollutants in the most heavily burdened communities, that being East Oakland. The purpose of the East Oakland CERT is to develop a 5-year plan, including strategies to address longstanding air quality challenges in East Oakland. And I'll pass it to Alicia for some CERT milestones.
Thank you, Carly. Can you all hear me? Yes. Great. Thanks all. Hi, I'm Alicia. It's so great to be here with you all. So I wanted to quickly present the CERT milestones here. This shows the milestones that the steering committee has achieved, the ones that are still pending, and the ones yet to be completed. In the past year and a half, the steering committee has accomplished a great deal. We have successfully set up the steering committee governance, adopted the CERT vision and principles, and defined the CERT community boundaries. The steering committee has also prioritized what's important to them in the CERT goals, as well as what is important to know about their community and the community profile. Both items are still pending, but we'll be revisiting them during the strategy development phase. The Alameda County Public Health Department shared vital information on health inequities in East Oakland, which will help us support developing strategies. The steering committee, as well as community, has also helped identify pollution sources in the community, and this has informed the Air District's development of emissions inventory, as well as their compliance and enforcement 3-year data assessment. So the information over the past year will help us work towards milestones that we have yet to complete. And this includes developing strategies, as well as the elements that are important in developing and adopting the CERT itself and guiding CERT implementation. And so that's all for me. I'll pass it back to Carly.
Great, thanks, Alicia. All right, so there was some questions when I had contacted CSC members, and I just really wanted to clear some things up, as far as the roles in the space go. So the community steering committee, which is some CSC members who are here and also online. The role of the CSC is to set vision, guiding values, identifying key issues, input on strategies, and a process to develop the CERT. For the CSC co-chairs, which are Michaela, Mr. Charles, and Ayana, they provide CSC leadership and guidance, help plan CSC agendas, they facilitate CSC breakout and ad hoc discussions, and hopefully we can have some ad hoc meetings very soon. The co-leads, which is the Air District and CP, provide guidance, technical analyses, data and research, staffing and admin support, and then Just Cities, which is Massimo over here on the laptop. Thanks for all your work, and Angie, right here in the back. They provide, and DJ. They provide admin support for the CSC, such as moderating CSC meetings and facilitation support within the co-chair meetings every week. If there's any questions or, about this later, I'm open to talk, and yeah, just want to make sure things are clear for everyone. So just a reminder of the CSC charter's participation principles. CSC members agreed to abide by all conditions of the East Oakland Community Steering Committee Charter, which you guys also drafted. So providing strategic guidance, vision, and oversight, providing leadership and accountability, playing an active role in the process, and also listening, engaging, and respectful dialogue. All right, and just a reminder of some initial meeting agreements and notes for participation before we jump into the breakout rooms. So for our meeting agreements, we have one mic, one voice. If you're in person, raise your hand, speak. If on Zoom, use the raise hand function under the reactions at the bottom of your screen. Have grace for ourselves and one another. Take care of yourself. Mutual respect, empowerment, and active listening for all participants. And then the community building on Zoom using remote emojis to inspire and encourage one another. And then lastly, any questions throughout the meeting that you have, if you're in person, please raise your hand if you want to ask a question. And especially within the breakout rooms when we do it in person, if you want to speak during the share out, for the person who will be the report out person, just please make sure you're putting your mouth in the mic so people can hear you. Yeah, and just when you're commenting on things and you want to raise your hand, just make sure to speak into the mic. If you're on Zoom, in addition to hand raising, you may also use the Zoom chat. CDE and backup staff will be responding to your questions, and something exciting that one of the Air District staff had done, Carissa, she created a document to have CSC members' questions on the document, which was an idea from CSC member Gabrielle, so thank you for that. And then also having accountability within that form. So we'll share it with CSC members, so you follow your question where it goes, and then you see the answer. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can also comment on that. So now we'll be shifting into breakout rooms on the first topic of holding agreements in CSC meetings. I will explain how it will go, and then Michaela, and I think Sherry left, will be facilitating the online room, and I'll be facilitating in person. So yeah, if CSC members want to get together maybe on one table, I think that could work really well since this is going to be a group activity, and I'll explain to you how that will work. So either, maybe we can accommodate Miss Cecilia and have all the CSC members in this front row. And maybe even moving some tables for this. And then we shall help.
What kind of drink would you have? You want to and this with the smoke.
Oh, good idea. What if we have, like, only, move to the other side of the table?
Oh,
So that we're all facing.
Sure. Oh, that works. That works. Yeah, that works. You want, to bring your chair over there, if it's a fair chair.
They muted themselves, but I don't know that we're in a room yet.
It's probably, I bet you it's.
Oh, we're not. in the-
I bet you. Boston is trying to figure out.
I think that we don't need to be in a room.
Mhm.
Daryl, can you hear me?
Okay,
I can hear
Okay.
you all just fine.
Oh, thank
cool,
you.
sounds good. Sorry, y'all, we were figuring
Yeah,
out the issues.
I think last week, on an email, I saw them saying something about with this setup, they wouldn't be able to do a breakout room, that we would just stay in
Mhm.
online here.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that, Carol.
Change the view and then we can see who's in our room with us.
Okay.
All right, yeah, thanks, y'all. Yeah, like I said, lots of grace today. So thanks for that. Yeah, so I know folks got some questions sent out. I think the slides might change, but if not, I can kind of like read them off too. But yeah, like I mentioned, we're really trying to like get more discussion from everybody and more feedback really to kind of see how the CSC has been going. So we have a few different sections that we're gonna kind of like go through. So this is the first breakout room, and then we'll kind of have two other sections that we'll kind of spend some time on. So these are just the easy questions, where we have a lot of other ones set up for later. So yeah, first, we really want to make sure that everyone kind of participates. So I guess the first kind of question we wanted to ask folks is, how do y'all want like the communication to be with like co-chairs and then also CBE folks? So is it okay to kind of like call on folks in like the CSC meetings? Is popcorn okay with folks? Are there any other suggestions on like ways people would want to see increased engagement or anything like that? So yeah, that's our first question. Kind of how would you want engagement to look kind of like in these spaces? So yeah, any thoughts on that from folks? Yeah, and feel free to raise your hand on Zoom or drop something in the chat and we can also read it out. But yeah, Susan?
I don't like talking in front of people and it makes me uncomfortable to do so, but I realize I need to participate more. So perhaps calling on people and just preface it by saying, if you don't want to talk, just say no.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for being the first person to talk also. And yes, stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit. Okay, so yeah, calling on folks, but kind of giving people a heads up, so it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm really on the spot.
Right.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, Jamie?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good idea, and it gives people the opportunity to say no if they don't want to participate.
Okay, yeah, Kalila?
Hi, yes, I would say that I agree with Susan's comment. I think definitely as someone who is representing an agency, um, I try to like not say too much. So definitely if someone wants like to know something specifically like regarding like what the planning department might think or like, um or like some sort of like different perspective, like non-community perspective, I think definitely being asked, at least for me, is helpful so that like, just to be mindful of like sharing stuff that people actually want to hear.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for that. Definitely. Okay, other folks? Any thoughts on kind of like, yeah, how you would want to be called on? Yeah, Carol?
Hi, yeah, thanks for asking all these questions. I think the first thing for me would be, if we know how much time we have, like when we're gonna go into a breakout session, or, I think that will be helpful because I don't know, I just kind of get the feeling that sometimes people are like, I just won't say anything because I don't want to slow down the process. So I think it'd be really helpful to have a better understanding when we go into a breakout room, you know, okay, this is gonna be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever it might be. And then I think also for something that's really like an important, well, I guess it's all important, but if you all need decisions from the CSC, to actually make sure that there's like a vote, you know, like here are the three options or three things everyone's talking about, you know, who wants these. And sometimes there's the, I don't know if you all, you know, have used the gradient of agreement, but I found that that's been helpful in the past to sort of get the feel of the temperature of the room. You know, are people really in agreement, or they're just okay with it, or they have reservations on it? Thanks.
Okay, for sure. Thanks for that. I will try to implement some of that for the other breakout rooms to give time checks and everything. Yeah, really good suggestions so far. Okay. If there's nothing else from folks, can kind of move to the next question. Any last minute thoughts?
It's Jamaica. I was just gonna say, you know, utilizing the chat is always good for folks too. I'll speak from an I think it's a good way also to be able to kind of check in and say what it is that maybe is on your mind.
Okay, yeah, that's a perfect segue because the next question is actually about the chat. So yeah, the chat is really cool on Zoom. I know the chat in our spaces be live sometimes too. There'll be a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, and that's really cool because I think there's a way to share like a lot of updates, but I also know for some folks it could be overwhelming or just a lot of information at once. So we kind of wanted to see what are y'all feeling about the chat and how it's been working for you. And do y'all have a preference of kind of like, would you only want the chat to be used just for CSC related topics? Or is it okay if other people talk about kind of other things or other updates in the chat as well? So yeah, any thoughts on like the Zoom chat and how that's been going for folks?
For me, I think um like using the chat for both like things that are relevant and like things that are not as relevant, I think that's okay because it's, I mean, at least for me, it's easy to like filter out. And then as people respond to things like to a certain comment in the chat, it pops back up because of all the replies. So then you can like keep up. So I don't think we need to like filter the chat in that way or anything.
Okay, nice. Okay, yeah. And yeah, since there's a few of us, yeah, if folks speak, especially if it's your first time speaking, if you could just say your name so we know who's talking.
Oh, sorry, that was Andrea.
Thanks, Andrea. I recognize your voice. Jamie?
I don't think we should like necessarily filter the chat, but I think sometimes, particularly like when there's data heavy discussions or whatnot, folks go down like different rabbit holes, and it makes me wonder if like they're engaged in the presentation or like Googling things furiously. Like I know I've been guilty of that when I hear something of trying to Google, oh, what's this other thing that it made me think of? So I do wonder if it is always doing the thing we want it to do versus distracting.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Yeah, it's a little mix of both sometimes. Any other folks? Folks who haven't spoken yet?
Hey, this is Bill with Argent. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I've just noticed that people tend to be more willing to speak their mind in the chat. That seems to be really helpful. And just at 55 years old, I've recognized that more communication is always better than less. Lack of communication seems to be the root of all disagreement. So I'm in favor of any and all types.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it seems like, you know, it's easier to kind of type out your feelings instead of being on the spot, and kind of having to say them. So yeah, lots of really good things in the chat. Okay. Any last thoughts? Okay, cool. So it sounds like we're not wanting to filter the chat. We like how the chat kind of has been, especially since Zoom kind of has the reply feature and the ability to kind of like bounce back in between people based on kind of like what you're talking about. Okay, so kind of the last question is on the space itself. So, yeah, sometimes there's emails or other matters that sometimes come into the space because they're, partially or somewhat kind of like associated. So are there any thoughts on kind of how the space has been? And yeah, any agreements on how we want the space to go? Do we want it to only be for CSC matters? Yeah, kind of a similar question, but about the space itself. How are folks feeling?
Andrea again. I think just offering the space if there is something that comes up similar to like last month, like a separate space to discuss things. Because I know like we have limited time in these meetings, so when there is something that people clearly want to talk about, I think maybe they should offer us the space to talk about that separately. Yeah, for a time that works for all of us and something that's kind of preferably planned ahead. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so separate spaces. Kalila, I think you had your hand up.
Hi, yes, this is Kalila. Could you just elaborate on what you mean by like non-CSC matters? For example, a few weeks ago we did have like uh a meeting where people definitely wanted to discuss, I think, what was going on with Blackman and Mr. Charles. I mean, that's to me would be considered a CSC matter since he is a CSC staff member or CSC co-chair, while tangential to like the air quality plan, that would be a CSC matter. So I think like what's not considered CSC matters are just like different community thoughts that maybe that are not related to air quality or like different programs or like maybe some clarification would be helpful there for me.
Yeah, no, I think honestly, that's even maybe a definition we can kind of think of together. Because I think definitely this question was partially in response to, yeah, some of the things that came up with the email and also just some personal matters that got tied into that. But I think it's helpful hearing that you feel like anything that's related to a CSC member or kind of like their positionality is kind of like a CSC matter, even if it's not directly related to our CERT process. So definitely a working definition too. So yeah, that was really helpful. Carol? I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I think that part of the challenge is because there is so much stuff to talk about, and so many different ways we can help and how so many different things connect to this. I kind of almost lose track. Like, what's the purpose of AB 617, for instance, or what's the purpose of our group? And I just kind of think it might be helpful for, I don't know if it's at the beginning of each meeting or during the breaks, just kind of showing what it is. There's some slides that might show it. So, and then I think that would kind of help us kind of understand, like, okay, this is something I really want to talk about, but based off of our purpose and our vision or our goals, it's not directly. So, maybe that goes into the quote parking lot. And maybe just like at the end, well, maybe it doesn't happen at the end, but just like we do have a time slot at the end to talk about community events, maybe we have to set aside a time or multiple times throughout the meeting to have, maybe we just carve out some time to be able to talk about these things and say, is this something that we want to add to, our discussion today or talk about it later? Or do we need to get feedback from the Air Quality Management District or some other entity to be able to really speak on it next time?
Okay, cool. So I'm hearing definitely more spaces that are kind of like ad hoc spaces that people can join, places for questions so people can follow up. Okay, definitely. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
and just that clarification on so we can look at it ourselves and kind of be reminded regularly, like this is what our initial goal is, and then we can say, is this something we want to add to this, or speak separately. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, definitely always kind of like reminding ourselves, like, where are we in the process? What's kind of the goals we're working towards? Okay, cool. Thanks, y'all. That was kind of our first little set of questions. Any final thoughts from folks? Okay, cool. So for the second section, I think I'm gonna join on my laptop so I can also see who's in the room, and also the chat, because I think it's a little easier. But to kind of get us started, one, is there someone who's down to kind of be our share out, report out person, kind of at the end? Yeah, you'll kind of just like read off the Jamboard and kind of like do a little report out to the full group of kind of what we discussed. Anyone down? Okay. We can come back to it. If not, I can definitely report out. Okay. Yeah, 1 second, y'all. Sorry, I'm trying to join from my laptop. Okay, so the first section in this meeting, or in this section, it's a lot more focused on like actual feedback, and really kind of diving deeper into your like feedback. So the first question is a really, really broad one. Y'all could take it wherever you want. How have people been feeling about the CSC space? That could be like over the past few months, over the last year, like whatever y'all are feeling. Yeah, we have about 20 minutes in this section, so I'll give a time check. But yeah, wanted to really like hear from y'all and kind of open it up with a broad question. So yeah, does anyone want to start? Any thoughts or feelings around the space? Okay, Susan.
For someone who doesn't like to talk, I'm talking. For the past month or so, I have been feeling like we're getting way off topic. Trying to do what we're supposed to do to help East Oakland. A couple sessions, I was like, why am I even here? It's nothing to do with what we're supposed to be doing, and that's going ahead with AB 167 and implementing things. And it just didn't feel like it was. And we got off topic. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Susan. Yeah. Carol?
Hi, it's me again. Yeah, I actually agree with Susan. I think to add to that, what I'm noticing is when we get the presentations, because of the passion and love that residents have for East Oakland, sometimes it brings up trauma, I guess I'll just say, and it makes it hard for people to process. It's like there's a presentation and then we jump right into, okay, now let's talk about how to fix this, or let's talk about what it is we want to do. And people haven't had the opportunity to actually process it. So I don't know if that means like, should we kind of flip it? Like the presentations come at the end and then there's some time to process. And then at the next meeting a month later, that's where we actually do our work sessions. Because it feels like people are still thinking about everything, and we're trying to actually move into it. I just think it's different for people who are living here, living it, as opposed to being a little bit more removed from it, and actually like this is your day-to-day job, and people are able to like effectively and efficiently move forward. Even if they have feelings, they know that like I have to get through this. So I just feel like that's how I'm feeling. I feel like we're getting off track and not getting as much done as we could because people are being I guess reintroduced to trauma and not being able to process it before they move into the solution side.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Susan. Thank you, Carol. So yeah, getting off track and then also kind of understanding that like these are people's real lived experiences that we're dealing with like every day. So trying to figure out like the balance of like, let's get to it, but also let's take a pause. Okay, cool. Other folks, anyone who hasn't spoken yet? Okay. If not, we can go to the next one. Definitely encourage folks to, yeah, drop it in the chat. Yeah, I see like community and equity moves at a different timeline. Yeah, thank you, Jamaica. And then, yeah, thank you, Andrea. Kind of just agreeing to what other folks are saying. So, okay, cool. So the next question is, how do you want to be engaged in the CERT process? I think we heard a little bit. It sounds like people want maybe more ad hoc meetings, more ways to kind of follow up independently. Yeah, any other thoughts from folks around how they want to be engaged in the CERT process?
Hi, it's Jamaica. You mentioned ad hoc, and I know, everybody, has a busy life, has work, has, family commitments and all of that. But I think maybe when there's a topic that might need a little bit more teasing out, that maybe an ad hoc meeting might warrant that. Just because, yeah, I don't want to keep getting off topic because the momentum is here, the commitment is here, the love is here. And yeah, I just want to circle back to just saying sometimes there needs to be a deeper dive. And, again, meeting once a month, we try to pack a lot in. So I don't know what the solution is, but yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, definitely balancing kind of like everything. Okay. Thoughts from other folks on how they want to be engaged in the process? Yeah, Carol?
Hi, sorry, I know I'm talking too much, but so I would think one of the things I'm thinking of is like I've done this kind of stuff before, not for the community, but for like a job I had. And a lot of times when I started doing facilitation, I had to actually do like what are the potential scenarios? Like, are we going to go A, B, C, D, E? Like, just kind of think about what all the possible directions we might go in. And then based off that, say, okay, well, if we're going to do that, then, we'll need to carve out more time or we need to split it up. And I don't know how much of that the staff is doing, but I just wonder if you all are able to do a little bit more of that. Maybe that could help us kind of stay on task, sort of not anticipating the answer, but sort of anticipating like the general direction that we might go in. And if we go in that direction, we may need support, in a different way than if we go in a different direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thanks. Yeah, and thanks for folks who are dropping stuff in the chat. Yeah, definitely. The idea is that with all this feedback, we are going to switch up the kind of vibe of these meetings going forward, have some more engaging things and things that y'all actually want to see. So definitely. Okay, we have about 10-ish more minutes left to kind of discuss in this section, so I wanted to move us to the next question. Which I think kind of got brought up a little bit by you, Carol, but just kind of like thinking of like what are we doing in the CERT? Why are we even here? So yeah, the next question, and the Jen word will switch in a second. We're just making sure we get all the comments that were dropped in the chat. But the next question is, what questions do you have about the CERT process? Because yeah, it's been a while since we kind of had that like introductory like presentation and meeting. And we're in a really different place now. So yeah, what questions do folks have about like the entire CERT process? Yeah. Any burning questions from folks? Oh, Jamaica?
Yeah, I have a question. It's Jamaica. I happened to be on a different call today, and somebody had mentioned speaking to Miss Margaret about Streetwise, which is a ground truthing platform that really helped how West Oakland was able to really get, it wasn't just data, it was qualitative data, it was community residents, and it really helped their CERT process. So I was just wondering if that's something that maybe might help in ours, because from my understanding, it was really successful. And I'm going to circle back with Streetwise just to get a little bit more information, but just I wanted to at least, yeah, put that out there.
Yeah, thank you. That's something we've been talking about a lot, is definitely connecting with other folks who have done this work already, like Miss Margaret. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I see questions in the chat of just like, when do we actually get to draft the actual plan? How much influence does the steering committee have on the final CERT? Okay. Any questions from other folks about the CERT process? It can be literally anything, like whatever y'all are thinking. Jamie?
And I guess kind of similar to Carol's question, what sort of authority does the CERP have? Like, we are going to be asking City of Oakland to do X, Y, and Z, but do they, like, what's the motivation for them to prioritize the CERP over other, day-to-day city activities?
Okay. Yeah, other things, does the CSC have the ability to make strategies, implement new strategies, or is it advisory only? Okay. Kalila?
Hi there, everyone. This is Kalila. I could provide some just insight into, I think, Jamie and Carol's questions. Just given my work with my experience with the West Oakland AB 617 initiative. So I think in the end, the plan that comes out of this work is something that's adopted by the community and by the Air District. And that includes a number of strategies that are assigned to a number of different agencies, including the City of Oakland. And so there are different ways, at least I'll just speak for the City of Oakland here, that these policies get like codified. A number of policies from the West Oakland, the WOCAP, were incorporated into our general plan update, and some specific code amendments that we were working on around industrial lands. And so, I think when this plan gets created, there would be a similar effort to make sure that, things that are like priority strategies get incorporated into like either a city plan or code updates or something, so that what has been adopted by the community and the Air District gets translated into our agency. I think other agencies might have different or similar process, but I'm not sure.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for those updates. And yeah, I think that's something that we've been wanting to revisit too, is kind of like, what are the authorities for the CERT? What kind of regulation power does the Air District have? Who are the other players? Okay. Thanks, y'all. Any final thoughts on this question?
This is Sima. May I add a couple of thoughts? The EJ officer?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think this gets to the heart of the question. It's such a wonderful question. You know, what is the role of the CSC, right, in the SERP development process? And, you know, we really view it as a partnership. And so, I mean, let me be very clear that at the end of the day, it's the board of directors that approve the plan, and then that plan goes to CARB for its approval. The state, our state partner, the California Resources Board. And so, you know, it is a bit of a dance. Let me be very transparent about that. It's a bit of a dance. We make a proposal jointly, staff and informed by the CSC's views. And, you know, the first step is to get to common ground with staff and what's feasible. And then, at least with respect to the SERP measures that are directly applicable to the air district, that, you know, call on our direct authorities. And then, you know, there are in many SERPs, other measures that seek the goodwill of other agencies like land use, our land use partners, cities and counties, that type of thing. Other agencies like water quality, you know, what have you. And so that really requires the ongoing communication and goodwill of working with those communities. With those agency partners. But at the end of the day, I want to be clear that, you know, it is the board of directors and CARB that ultimately approve the SERP. Does anybody have further questions about that?
Thank you, Suma.
Sure.
And like I mentioned, I think that'll be the focus of future presentations also, just to kind of like refresh and regroup where we are.
Sure. Sounds great.
I have a question. So I think going along those, it's Jamaica. How is it that we are able to leverage the toolbox of BachMed and others to have a strong submission for our SERP?
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, we've been talking about that a lot too, especially getting other actors, other powers involved. So we have a little less than 10 minutes left, and I wanted to actually move us on to not the next question, but actually the one after that of kind of actually question 6. Sorry, Allison. Because yeah, I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. So what would y'all like to see in future meetings? So I think if you can go to question 6, Allison,
Which one's 6?
on the gem board.
9. Okay.
Oh,
thank you.
sorry.
Page
I was looking
9.
at the 6, 7, 7. Yeah, so the question is, what would you like to see in future meetings? And really it could be topics, it could be activities, you know, it could be like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of all these presentations, like folks have talked about, like I want to watch a video or something like that. But yeah, I wanted to get y'all's ideas in the last few minutes of what do y'all actually want to see in these spaces. So yeah, any thoughts on that? Topics, activities, new things? We're down to try anything. Andrea?
Yeah, I mean the presentations that we've been doing have been fine and informative. But I think just like trying different ways of presenting information could be good. You know, through videos, through activities like that we can all engage in. People have different ways of learning, and yeah, I mean it would also probably save time compared to planning out a bunch of presentations. If we do activities instead. But that's just someone speaking as someone who works with youth. This is how it works. But yeah.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I'm sure adults also don't always want to listen to hour-plus presentations. So yeah, definitely lots of things to learn. Carol?
Hi, yeah, I actually like what Andrea said about more activities. I think that the presentations are great, but I feel like when we get to the point of like, let's have a work session, let's talk about like, ideas on how we can move this into actionable items in the future. I feel like we don't get enough of that. And so I think that having longer work sessions, and again, maybe they're split off into the next meeting is where that happens after the processing of information happens. So yeah, I would agree with Andrea.
Okay,
Thanks.
nice. Thank you, Carol. Yeah, Jamaica, I think you're off mute.
Is because I saw there were two kind of things that were pending as far as like, I would say maybe like our work board, and then there were, I don't know, I think maybe 4 or 5, but like, how is it that we can maybe plan backwards to see where we are with our timeline? Because to make the most of the limited time that we have to walk away with something that is strong, that can be implemented, and that, when it goes to the board of directors, that, they're able to approve something. Because in one of our meetings, it was stated that some of the other SERPs throughout the state didn't have strong enough SERPs. So, I don't want East Oakland to fall into any of that.
Okay, definitely. Thank you, Jamaica. Okay, yeah, maybe like 1 or 2 more folks. Any things y'all want to see? Hearing definitely less presentations, more activities, more kind of grounding us and kind of where we are in the process. Other folks? Okay, does everyone kind of agree with those sentiments? Less presentations, more activities? If folks are off camera, if you want to give like a thumbs up or a little Zoom reaction. Yeah, thank you, Jamie. Other folks? Okay, thank you, Amber. Okay, cool. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Erica. All right, we'll definitely try to implement that. Okay, yeah. Any final thoughts on kind of this section of kind of like actually switching up the level of engagement with folks? Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm gonna step out of my note-taking role. I have just a quick question. Do you all like it when we're virtual having breakouts? Do you like when we break out and either have discussion or work on things, brainstorm?
Thumbs up from folks, yeah. It seems like people like the breakout rooms. Yeah, I know sometimes, oh, sorry. Go for it,
Sorry.
James.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. I like them, but I would like them to be more self-directed, because I think last time I liked the concept of us being in topic groups, but I was in a topic that I didn't really know a lot about, so it felt like I was learning rather than contributing when there were areas I felt I could have contributed to.
Yeah.
Okay. I see some agreement with that. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, y'all. I also know breakout rooms are helpful. Yeah, just to make it like smaller groups and not like 30+ people in one big Zoom session, which can be helpful. Okay, yeah. Any final thoughts from folks? All right, cool.
Yeah, can I just say one thing? I think talking with Carly and her calling me throughout the week, going over kind of like notes from other meetings and whatnot. I think that helped me personally. So I've asked her, like, if there's other people that kind of would like to talk throughout the week about things and kind of refresh your memory about the previous meeting. So I think, if others want to get together and even have like, separate emails going about, that helps me. So I think maybe we can implement that, or see if other people want to talk, throughout the weeks or weeks that we don't have these meetings.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Danny. And that's actually like a perfect segue into our next question, which is kind of a little bit more on like organization and logistics. So the next set of questions are, yeah, kind of around that, like if y'all want to have separate meetings, how y'all want questions to be answered, and if so, what you want that to look like. So it's actually the next question, Allison.
Okay.
11.
Yeah, slide 11 on the Jamboard. So yeah, this kind of came up a bit with folks already, but how would y'all want agendized? So things that are like on the agenda, y'all get kind of like email, about earlier on, and then non-agendized items. So things that come up in the meeting, things that people maybe want follow-up around. How do y'all want those things to be answered and followed up around? I've heard ad hoc spaces, so kind of like separate group meeting to kind of like answer some of those questions. I also know that sometimes takes more capacity. So we've also thrown around the idea of like a running Google Doc with all of our questions and answers. Yeah, so are there any feelings about those two ideas or any new ideas people want to recommend? Okay, I see Jamie put in the chat, she likes the Google Doc, mainly because of the capacity issue. Yeah, we know it could be a lot to join, like 1-hour Zoom meetings. Yeah, do other folks have thoughts on that? Do people prefer like the meeting spaces versus the Google Doc? What are people thinking? Okay. Do people like the idea of having like a running Google Doc list of kind of like questions that come up in the meeting and then answers? I see a few head nods. Yes, okay, yes to the Google Doc. It seems like people are more like maybe no to the meetings just because of capacity, it seems. Yeah, I'm seeing kind of thumbs up from folks around that. Okay, cool, that's really, really helpful. Yeah, and just to go off of what Danny said, I think, yeah, Carly helping out and calling folks has definitely been helpful for us as co-chairs to kind of see how folks are feeling. So hopefully we can continue that. Jamie?
I like the idea of maybe doing something like a survey or whatever to feel out how folks individually best feel supported in this space. Because I think I hear other folks saying a debrief meeting would be great. Individual calls are great. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like a lot to me. Like someone called me today, and I luckily didn't have a meeting during work, but most of the daytime calls for me are gonna be happening when I'm working. So I like calling me wouldn't actually be supportive, but I love a Google Doc that I can go and check in on during my own time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we definitely know y'all are busy. Yeah, and an individual survey, that sounds good too. Any last minute thoughts or final thoughts on kind of this item or this question? Okay, I'm gonna segue actually into, it's slide 13 on the Jamboard and question 3. Oh, before I do that, I see there's some things in the chat. So yeah, well, definitely, I think maybe doing like a survey or some kind of poll sounds good, so we can get people's like individual thoughts. Because it seems like it's definitely like mixed interest. And then in the Richmond process, it seems like they really relied on like ad hoc and smaller groups. So yeah, thanks for sharing that experience, Laura. Because learning from other communities, like we mentioned earlier, is like really, really important. And it seems like that was the process in West Oakland as well. So it seems like that's come up, like the idea of ad hoc meetings and having that. I know it's always just kind of like scheduling capacity is always something to think about. So yeah, we'll put some thought into that. Okay, so we have like 5-ish minutes remaining. So the last question I wanted to go to, and the Jamboard will change in a second, but yeah, kind of going off of this, we wanted to see how people want to give feedback. And so for this question, as people, the next one, slide 13. So for this question, we'll take notes as we have been on the Jamboard, but we also want to make sure everyone goes in and drops in their personal answer, because we do want to see how each individual member wants to kind of get engaged and wants to give feedback. So right now we kind of use the Google form after each of these meetings. Carly has been calling folks, we've been doing email check-ins. So are there any like ways that really, really work for folks or really, really don't work for folks? Any ideas from folks? And this is a slide, and I can drop the link to the Jamboard in the chat because I don't think we've done that, but this is a slide where people can definitely go in and drop stuff in themselves. Yeah, but if not, we can also just go kind of in order with folks. Yeah, because there's a few minutes left. Anyone want to share out specifically like what's been working for them? I see Jamie dropped in the chat. She likes the Google form. It's a way to capture kind of thoughts in real time. Calls and texts kind of interrupt the workday, and she's more busy. And then weekly emails can also be a lot. Okay, that's really helpful. Carol is okay with like monthly check-ins. If there's something urgent, kind of give a text heads up, but is kind of able to kind of check in still. I guess just kind of like in general, have people like the calls that Carly's been doing? I know it's different for everybody, but yeah, either like head nods or thumbs up from folks if you've liked the calls Carly's done to kind of check in, or texts also. Okay, it looks like most people are kind of, yeah, dropping in the chat. Okay, so kind of more check-ins around that. Okay, cool. That sounds really good. Yeah, we have a sheet that kind of breaks down like how often people want to be contacted. So we definitely kind of have like, yeah, if you want to be contacted just like once a month, once every other month, just based on your schedule. Okay. So for the last few minutes, I think if we didn't capture your thoughts on the Jamboard, if folks who are off camera or haven't been able to drop anything in the chat yet, if y'all can go in on the Jamboard directly and kind of add in your preferences, and then also drop your name or your initials, just so we know who you are. Yeah, if you're comfortable with that, of course, you can also like message me directly or also message Carly directly too. So yeah, thanks for that. We have like 1 more minute left, but I actually just wanted to go to the next question, which is slide 14. But I wanted to see, especially for y'all on Zoom, how has this hybrid meeting been so far? Like the first hour of it? Has it been okay? Okay, cool. I see some head nods from people. The audio and the sound is good. Okay, cool. Do people think they would be interested in keeping like more hybrid or in-person meetings going forward? Or what are people thinking about that?
I think hybrid gives folks options. Jamaica.
Thank you. Yeah, like doing in-person stuff not post because we're still living in a pandemic, but just in the age we're living now is like very different than what it used to be. So, okay, hybrid's been good. Camera could be a little closer to the podium. And the audio in the bigger room is a little echoey, but this room seems good. Okay, cool, that's good to know. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. It seems like people have been enjoying the hybrid format. So yeah, this kind of wraps up our breakout room a bit. We're going to be connecting back to the full room. And just to check in, is there anyone who's down to do the little share out now that we've talked and you know what you're going to be sharing out? If not, also no pressure. Okay, I can do it. Cool. I'm really happy people like the hybrid format. Yeah, this is really new for us. As you saw, we were kind of figuring out our tech stuff in the beginning, but I think we got there. So it's good to know that this room has been good and that overall hybrid is like a really good format for people, gives people the option. Okay, cool. Last minute thoughts from folks? Cool. How are y'all feeling about the conversation that we just had? Did it help? Or at least make people feel like maybe some change will come soon? Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, I definitely say we are really, really focused on like, yeah, just changing things, making things more engaging, improving our facilitation, our time management. So yeah, really, really appreciate hearing from all of y'all. Yeah, and really appreciate all the great conversation. So cool. Yeah, I think we're gonna connect with the main room in a second. But I think after that, it's just kind of, yeah, like a quick report back. So y'all kind of hear like what folks were talking about in person in the main room. I'll also just use this time to say if anyone has any EJ announcements, I know since y'all are online, still feel free to send them like in the chat if there's anything that comes up for folks, and we'll be writing them on like a big whiteboard that we have.
Hey, Michaela, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Hey, y'all.
Great. Hey, everyone. I hope the discussion went well. I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say. So I'm thinking, you know, we can split up the time here. We have 25 minutes to share out. So I'm thinking we can split the time with your guys' room and then also with us, maybe some highlights from the room.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, great. Yeah, feel free to share, whoever would like to, or. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna start us off, and then yeah, folks from my room, feel free to definitely hop in, especially if it's something that, of course, you said or that you like really, really resonated with. But yeah, I guess I'll kind of just start from the beginning, with kind of the first few sets of questions of people, you know, enjoy the space. And you know, it's been an interesting few years. Definitely thinking about ways to have better time checks for folks to kind of make sure we're staying on time, making sure we're getting to the right breaks. Also kind of practicing like step up, step back, especially if you're like in a government official or kind of staff position, and making sure that the community really is able to kind of share their voice. Folks are down to be like called on because we talked about like ways to increase engagement. So, you know, calling on folks or doing popcorn, just giving people like a heads up so you're not like super, super on the spot. And also just acknowledging that like different folks have different like comfortabilities when it comes to like speaking in the main like Zoom room with sometimes like 50+ people versus like speaking in like smaller breakout rooms. So yeah, those are some things to kind of think of. Also, just in general, like better heads up to CSC members in advance if we're kind of talking about anything heavy on the timing. If there's any kind of like vote or decision making that needs to happen. So yeah, that was kind of the first question. Anyone from my room want to add anything that I missed or anything like that? All right. Yeah, the next few questions, people really like having the kind of freedom in the chat to kind of talk about other issues and everything like that. So yeah, not filtering the chat, having the chat be like live and engaging, and the vibes as it has been kind of like the way people want things to kind of continue. And then same for the CSC space. Something that came up is trying to kind of like define what it means for matters to be CSC only, and the kind of idea of like if it's happening to someone on the CSC, a CSC member, a co-chair, anyone involved, that kind of automatically makes it a CSC matter. So yeah, just kind of thinking about that, kind of like probing the definition a little bit more. So that was kind of the first set of questions on kind of like logistics, organization, community agreements. Anyone from my room want to add anything? Okay. So I'll keep going to the kind of next set. So yeah, of course, this was like the bulk of the conversation, which was kind of like actually hearing people's like feedback. Overall, like people would really want the space to be a lot more like focused and kind of like on track with things that are a little bit more aligned to actually working on solutions for like East Oakland and air quality. So yeah, so kind of thinking about things like that, thinking about things that'll kind of further us in the solution process. Also understanding that presentations can be really heavy for folks and invoke like a lot of trauma, because for a lot of us, this is our like lived experience that we're dealing with every single day. So trying to find a balance so it's not just like all this really heavy information and then jumping right into like strategy development. And yeah, kind of like with those changes, people think that overall things will get like more on track and it'll have a better sense of like we are actually like getting things done. Yeah, other than that, people really like being involved in the chat. People also were down to have more ad hoc meetings, text-based groups, separate meetings, Google Docs that kind of like follow up on questions that were asked or anything like that as ways to kind of continue engagement. And then also recognizing that community and equity moves kind of at like a different pace and a different timeline than what we might be under right now, kind of like in our timeline process. So yeah, with all of that, people kind of overall will feel like a lot better about the space. Yeah, and I think overall, people also really want to have more engaging presentations, more activities and stuff like that. I think people are a little tired of the presentation, so maybe ways to have like videos, or just other ways to kind of learn like heavy, deep information. And then lots of questions on the CERT process. So I think always coming back to kind of like, why are we doing this? Why are we here? What's going on? What's our goals? Who has the actual power to change some of this stuff? And if not, who do we need to pull into that conversation? How can we learn from communities that have already done this work? So a lot of that stuff. And more kind of like action items and working sessions to actually get stuff done. Anyone from my room want to add into any of that stuff? Okay, so the last little bit, and then I'll pass it off to you, Carly, so the main room can give their updates. Yeah, definitely sending out some kind of like poll or survey so we can think about how people want to continue to be engaged. But overall, people have really liked the kind of like emails, people have liked the calls and the texts that you've been able to do. And just kind of having like separate meeting spaces, separate docs to kind of continue conversation that might not be able to get to in like these meeting spaces, since they're just like, yeah, once a month for a few hours. So yeah, that was kind of the bulk, I think, of what people have liked. I'll also just shout out that people really appreciated the check-in calls that you've been doing, Carly. So yeah, anything else people want to add real last minute? Okay, cool. Yeah, that was our room.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so our room had some, we did get through some questions. I definitely want to follow up with them for the rest of the questions, but yeah, we got to the very first set of questions of, we want to make sure everyone participates. Is it okay to call on people who aren't talking much? So it seemed like people were with that, and they really, like that idea, especially for people who are, someone mentioned that they don't really like to interrupt people, so they want to, make sure that everyone gets a say in the topic. So I think, going forward, it's important to, like Mr. Charles said, popcorn people who aren't talking as much, and like you said, Michaela, maybe giving a bit of grace to people who aren't so ready to answer the question. Yeah, So, the other question that we got through was the second question in the first section, community agreements on the Zoom chat, and yeah, people also agreed that, you know, the Zoom chat is kind of a space to air out, some things that they want to share with the group, and, if anyone wants to expand on that?
Yeah, Michaela, I just wanted to say that we supported almost everything that you guys said on that slide. Y'all got a lot farther along than we did. We had a different discussion here. Our discussion was more of an airing out type of discussion, where people just really got a chance to voice their opinion about how they felt this process has been going, and how discouraged some of our people have been, but how encouraged they are now with this new format that we're gonna be moving forward with. They did, and I would like to say, Shamar, that is a space that people should be able to feel safe at and be able to have a different type of discussion. But we still want to remember that whatever we've been through, we still have a job to do at the same time. And we want to focus on getting stuff done so that people don't feel like they wasted their time. A lot of people feel like they have so far, that we've been spinning our wheels. And I think now that staff has a clear understanding that the voices that were speaking to them were speaking for you. And it wasn't just us speaking for ourselves. It's what we know about our community, and because we live here. And one of the things that really came out in this discussion was that staff doesn't seem to really respect the voices here and the knowledge that we actually have. And hopefully moving forward, we'll be moving forward on that initiative of having our voices, and that means your voice is heard in these discussions moving forward. And so, Mrs. Celia, how do you feel? You want to add anything to our discussion, Mrs. Celia? I know you do.
I just want to say this. Now, we working with the ag district. And we need to know what are their legal jurisdictions for us, so we'll know what to do and how to go about doing it. Because that's very important. Because when you're working with two different entities, and right now, the ag district, we're working under the ag district. You understand what I'm saying? We'll sub. And we gonna have to know what we can do, what we can't do. So we can go on from there. And I'm more sure whatever we cannot do under them, I'm positive other resources that we can use. Because there's a lot of resources out here. There's no such thing as that something cannot be done. Nothing is impossible, nothing at all. All we need to know is resources. And once we know the resources, then we're able to do what we need to do. Even we have to get out there and protest for what we want. Because media is very powerful. And we're gonna have to do whatever we need to do for this community. Because this community is so sad. Oh, hallelujah. This is so sad about the illness we have in this area. Due to the pollution, due to the air quality. So we're gonna have to do all we can to try to, do what we can to make our people in this community live much longer. That's the main thing. Longevity, we need longevity, everyone does.
Thank you.
Yes, I hope and pray that I can live even longer.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Did anyone want to add anything in particular? I know we kind of talked about a lot. And the idea for people online is to I'll follow up with people who are in this room, the questions we didn't get through. And then, want to provide a Google document, of online people's feedback and also the people in here, their feedback. That way you guys can see it, it's clear, and then, figure out what to do moving forward. And we will discuss it amongst the co-leads and co-chairs and how to incorporate some of this, moving forward.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. My name is Miss Elvis and I'm doing this. So I have a question.
We can, if you can speak a little louder in the main room. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
A little louder.
The question is, the members of the community. Of the committee. My question is, how many of them are employed with the air district?
Did you guys hear that online?
Yeah.
So the question was, how many members of the committee are on the air districts? And employed by the air districts, and from my knowledge, none.
Yeah. None of the members are air district staff.
That are from the community, correct? Exactly. But the reason why we don't have very about community members out here, because most of them are working families. And a lot of these people working 2 and 3 jobs. I'm a witness, because I know for myself. I was doing the same thing, but I was yet involved with the community. See, it takes a strong person. You have to really have passion for something. You got passion for something, you will do. Everybody don't have passion. You see, and we got a lot of people in this community, they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't know nothing. You hear me? All thing they know anything is by if you see it on television, believe it or not. Media is very powerful. So we're gonna have to do all we can to try to get the word out to the community about what's going on. Because a lot of the members don't know. They don't know. They're working constantly, trying to make a living.
I think that's a good point that we forget, and not only are people working multiple jobs, but people from this particular neighborhood are commuting very far, which is creating more pollution. So I think also, that's a really good point. No, it's just me. Okay, you guys can hear me. So, I'm a community member and I'm Mrs. Charles's wife. So, I have gone through, yes, I have gone through, yes, I have gone through all the stuff of seeing him go through all the different stages and his commitments to this whole, organization and to the community. And I was sitting here after listening, because I've been in corporate America for a very long time. And I just want to know, really, because it came out after 17 months, why are people that are on this committee still asking, what are we doing and why are we here? Because there seems to be an educational component that is lacking. And then to get to the other point, about educating the community, if you're not educated yourselves, how are you going to educate the community? If you can't really understand, the background, the impact and all of that, how can you do that?
I just want to say something really quickly. I think we understand the background, and in fact, what we don't understand is our options. And that I feel is something that unless we all become lawyers and go dig into the regulations, we're not gonna be able to figure out until we get the, I would like, I know the CB has a legal team and I would like them to to come and brief us on what our options are. I think that would be useful.
Really quick, Carly, I think not only knowing what our options are, but for me, so many of the members here have expressed, we want to get to work, we want to create a final product, we want to make a lasting impact for our children, for our children's children, for our elders, right? We all have that spirit and that passion. My concern is, I don't quite know what our final product is, and I come from a project management background where it's like, I don't know what this report is, the legal aspects, like there's so much that's unknown that my, I don't know, lack of a better word, irritation is, I fear that we're gonna try to put something together and then at the end, they're gonna be like, oh, too bad, we can't really make that happen because things weren't explained to us along the way. And we brought up, cars, we brought up trash, we bring up all these things, but these, for myself, I don't speak for y'all, this is not my expert. I can't tell you how many admissions are from the pile that I had to call on the app 311 to get clear last week from my neighbor. I do know there were syringes there. I do know that I couldn't even push my toddler's stroller through our neighborhood. See, these are like my real life testimony. And if y'all don't give me the information for us to create this final product, I don't quite know where we go from here.
Oh, Shmar, did you have something?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna speak briefly, disagreeing with what everybody else was saying, but also just trying to set like a separation between like the regulatory regime and like classic old school community building, community organizing and activism. And I think there's a place for both of them. I think there's a lot more limitations in like your regulatory, at the end of the day, it's just reforms, right? You're taking the system that exists with government spending and bureaucracy and trying to, mesh it to make it work a little bit better for us. But I feel like we really got to come correct in that situation because we're working with this deep-seated interests, which aren't necessarily in community empowerment or even in emissions reduction. It's around getting mine, making sure that my mortgage is paid, that I get as much overtime hours as I can get, you know what I'm saying, that I can kind of work through my career ladder or get that next promotion kind of thing. And that's how government works, for better or for worse. And I think there's a lot of examples of the ways that community are able to come correct at government and just be like, all right, like, that's cute, but like, we're the ones that are paying your bills, right? We're the taxpayers, we're the participants, we're the ones that are kind of going along with it. I think a lot of that comes to community organizing. It's a conversation that Carly and I had, which again, props to Carly for taking the time and the space to reach out and to chat with folks individually. But yeah, I mean, my vision, again, I don't see this group, and again, something we talk about, I'd love to go back. I'm trying not to go back into months old emails and dredge stuff back up, but it's like, hey, we were supposed to get the contact list for all the people that were in our committee so we can like engage and interact with each other. And like, it's not just about air quality. If we're living in East Oakland, we're sharing this unique experience together. Yeah. Like the trash, the traffic, the air quality, the joblessness, the homelessness, the addiction, the mental health, the complete transformation of the demographics of our neighborhood, like all this stuff that we're dealing with together that we need to navigate as a community. If only we had the wherewithal to come together as a community. And I look at organizations like CBE, have a long history of bringing communities together, creating space. It's not as neat and clean as these government processes require. Because that's the thing, like we don't come correct to government, it's super easy. Like all it takes is to go to a city council meeting, to like a county board meeting, any of these committee meetings, and you'll hear these brilliant, angry, passionate, righteous folks talk, but it's so easy to ignore them because they just come in completely incorrect. They're not organized, they don't have, we all know that they've got hordes and scores of people behind them that would say the exact same thing if they were given the opportunity, if they were empowered, educated, organized, engaged to come out together. But when it's just one person you know what I'm saying? It's real easy for the board member to be like, hey, I got 2,000 votes. Sure, out of a community, a district of 40,000 residents, but hey, I got that small group of people that I kept sending the mailers in, and they voted for me, and I've got standing to lead. Whereas the quote unquote leaders who come out in the community often who aren't organized are just speaking as individuals. And they're not speaking the language of staff, they're not getting a salary, they're not as comfortable, their lives aren't put together in the same kind of way. And so all that to say, and I was hoping this would be short. All that to say that in my mind is two separate things, where it's like communities to come together, and it's an opportunity for, you know what I'm saying, anybody who smelled something, anybody who's got a kid with asthma, anybody who struggled to fill their albuterol prescription, like we're on the same page, like we could be marching down, we could be shutting stuff down any day of the week, right? But like it takes something to bring that group together. And then it takes something to get those folks on the same page, to understand how government works, to understand how regulators work, to understand how these systems work, and then to come correct and to make these demands. But as it is right now, it almost feels like we're getting played, where it's like they're finding these brilliant people within the community, folks who have something to say, folks who have valuable experiences. But you know, if we're not organized together as individual community members that have this collective experience, and if we're not prepared to go up, and I hate to put it in this like Marxist conflict kind of approach, but it's a kind of thing like these folks don't have our interests and hearts in the same way that we don't have their interests and hearts, right? So we're obviously going to have a conflict. We obviously have different interests. We're trying to go home to Brentwood, pay their mortgages, and enjoy a long weekend. We're just trying to breathe clean air and live a natural life. Like you think that wasn't a big thing, but it's like it's not. You can't take it for granted out here. Like folks who do the utmost and still die of mouth cancer, never having smoked or chewed a day in their life because of the air we're breathing, because of things we're being exposed to. And yeah, I just think it's two pieces of it. And it's crazy to see government co-opting and literally taking our resources, taking our tax revenue, taking our money and pretending to do community building work. And they got the same dozen people talking in circles and hordes of scores of people outside and just completely out of the loop. So yeah, again, like something like just letting us come together separate from this process to work together. I don't know, we don't need to stipend, like, if you care about this stuff, if you're not trying to breathe clean air, you know what I'm saying? None of that matters. Like we will make the time come together and come, you know, come as you are kind of a thing. And from that process, if it's organized and facilitated in a good way, then we can come correct at a regulatory body and say, hey, these are the things we demand, these are the people who got behind us, do it. Or we have the authority, the power to replace you. Like, we're doing the job, like, find another because we'll do whatever it takes. We will stand out in East 14. We will block out the, you know, they blocked out SFO for something international that they clearly, like, man, you know, 300 Oakland residents come up to the Oakland airport and be like, nah, baggage claim is closed, TSA is closed, y'all ain't expanding this airport. It's not just the airport either, it's all these other things, and like, we're not leaving to do something about it. Again, this is a theoretical, ridiculous thing, but it's like, that's not gonna happen through an air district process. We might be able to propose something and come at them with legal language, and they take it to their people, and they, you know, take it to the process, and the board maybe or maybe doesn't agree to it. But it's different when like, you know, community is able to work as community separate from government, and then we come at government.
So
Hi.
Carol, yeah, had her hand up for a while.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to say, I don't want us to take a defeatist attitude. I think that everybody here has a role to play. I've been on both sides. I've been on the sort of agency side. I've been facilitating. I've been in community service. So I've been on all sides, and I can see all points of view. We all have a role to play. I don't want us to take a defeatist attitude and say that the man is against us and we're never going to get this done, because that's just like laying down and just letting somebody walk over you. So we need to understand what it is that we can do, what we need to do, where we want to go, and use all the tools that we have available to us to get to where we want to have a better East Oakland, better air. So I understand, and I also think that there's a place where we need to be able to talk about everything that's happened in the past and the trauma, but we need to be able to move forward, and we are where we are right now. I think everybody who's here is aware of all the challenges that East Oakland has, all the challenges that we've had with environmental justice, and we're all here for, we're all here to make this better. And I don't think that we should be judging each other's motives and motivations. We should be moving forward. And again, everybody has skill sets here that we can use and move forward. That's all I want to say. And I just want us to keep this positive and moving forward. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol and Shamar. I think if we can try to keep it, like, if anyone else wants to speak, I think maybe like 4 more minutes. Also, people are okay with not taking a break because we're already this far, so I'm not sure if people did want to take a 5-minute break or. Okay, that is, okay, just want to hear back from you guys. All right, so, did anyone else want to speak? Mr. Charles and Marina, I think I saw Marina's hand first, then it was Mr. Charles, and it was Andrea.
Yo lo que quiero comentar es que para hacer un buen trabajo hay que hacer un buen alcance. What I'd like to tell is that in order to do a good job, we have to do a good outreach. Sí, necesitamos más fondos para nuestro comité directivo para salir a tocar puertas. We need more funds for our committee, so we can go out and enforce. Y decirle a la comunidad quiénes somos, ¿verdad? Y qué es el ser, porque muchas veces las familias, igual que yo, no sabía qué significaba.
To tell the community who we are and what CERT is, because, there's many people like me, for example, that did not know what that meant.
Porque muchas veces vemos muchas abreviaturas y no sabemos qué significa, ni qué están haciendo, ni qué hacen esas personas. Entonces, con toda esa información vamos a informar a nuestra comunidad.
So many times, we see so many, abbreviations, and we don't even know what they are. Actually, so, we need to go and inform our community.
Para que ellos puedan ser escuchados y entender mejor los trabajos que se están haciendo en comunidad.
So that they can listen to and that therefore we do a good job within our community for our communities.
All right, guys. Oh, is this on? Oh, okay, sorry. So we want to make sure to also get the time for Alicia to present and then close out. So I know Mr. Charles wanted to speak and then Andrea. Okay, did you want to go, Marika?
Yeah, I just wanted to support what Samara was saying. We have a lot of brilliant people in this room. And they invited us into this space because of our lived experience. But then when we share it, they don't want to hear it. And that's one of the things that is going to change based on the conversations that we've had. We haven't, up until now, we've only had 3 agenda items as functions, one of these. All the rest of the agenda items have been stacked. And that needs to change, because we need to hear from you guys. And what we need to hear from you guys is to participate in the surveys. We need you to participate in the meeting. Speak out, speak your mind. This is your time to be empowered and to make sure that your voice is heard. So please, from now on, to all of our committee members, man, please start being more active, because it's been said that it's only my voice, and now they hear that. So I'm just saying that's the truth. So now I'm glad that they hear more than my voice.
Thanks, Mr. Charles. And do you want to pass it to Marika real quick?
Thanks. I just wanted to quickly say, if our goal is to create a plan that will reduce emissions, community outreach and community engagement definitely has to be, I guess, like 50% of the plan. Right. And then the other thing I wanted to say is that in order to reduce pollution in our air, we have to know where exactly it's coming from. I would love to list of where the pollution is coming from. Is it coming from Indian Ocean? Is it coming from abandoned cars? Is it coming from specific businesses? That's why I said I really like that project we did with the kids, but then it did go away and I haven't heard anything more about it.
Thank you, Rita. All right, I'm going to move on. Thank you all for your comments and your feedback.
Before we move on, do y'all feel like y'all being heard at this meeting, or like as opposed to when we were online? Yeah, do you feel that, we get more done in person as opposed to online? Yeah, this is a better space for you. Okay, I just wanted to know.
Thank you. Yeah, so the next steps for this, again, is to follow up with some CSC members here, the questions we didn't get through, to get their feedback on that, and then, compile a document of what we heard in here, and then also online, folks, and then compile all that together, share it out with you guys, and then figure out how to incorporate that feedback into future meetings. So we will definitely touch back on this. Thank you all so much for your feedback, and again for taking the time to talk with me too. Really appreciate you guys. I'll pass it to Alicia for next thing.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your time and engagement in our first hybrid meeting. It's really important that we hear your voice, and that community is centered for the East Oakland Serve. So I just briefly wanted to touch back on our next steps for our focus area and strategy statements, and also reiterate the purpose of why we're here. So we are all here to partner together to develop the East Oakland Community Emission Reduction Plan. It's a 5-year plan that includes strategies and actions to reduce emissions and improve air quality in East Oakland. And so with that in mind, I'm just giving you a quick refresher on the work we did at our last steering committee meeting in February. We proposed a focus area and strategy approach. And in order to get to those strategies that we want to improve, air quality at East Oakland, we need to understand the key issues that the community is concerned about and the desired outcomes of addressing those concerns, so that we can work together to develop those strategies and actions to achieve those results. So the goal there was to dive deeper into the focus areas by describing those key issues and brainstorming solutions to address them. We developed focus area statements that started by identifying the community concern and then using the information we gathered over the past year. And that is the key health and demographic information, the technical emissions inventory, the complaint and enforcement data assessment, and the lived experience that you provided as the expertise that you have, living in your neighborhoods in this community. So we want to bring that all together. And essentially these focus area statements are brief sentences that describe these key issues and the impacts that they have on your community, the impacts that they have on the family, and the impacts that they have, as residents in this community. We also developed strategy statements, and these are essentially strategy objectives. They are meant to articulate the desired outcome of community members that describe the on-the-ground difference that you want to see as a result of these strategies. So together, the focus area statement and the strategy objectives will be the first step towards our shared goal of developing effective strategies that reflect your priorities. At the February steering committee meeting, we had asked you to participate in a breakout activity to draft these focus area and strategy statements. We also gave steering committee members opportunity to work on this via a Google form for all of these 5 focus areas. Since then, Air District staff has gathered all of these responses from these activities, and we place them in summary sheets for each of the focus areas. We hope that this will help connect the work that we've done in the breakout rooms and to develop them into statements toward the goal of developing strategies. And we'll provide these materials to you before our next steering committee meeting in April. In April, we hope to continue this breakout room activity so that you all can continue developing these focus area and strategy statements so that we can better understand the key issues that you are concerned about, and we can work towards those solutions to address them. Once we understand the key issues and the desired outcomes that you're looking for, we can work together to develop the strategies and actions to resolve the concerns. We just want to reiterate we are committed to this partnership and to this work, and we really appreciate all your engagement, all your support, all your energy, all your passion that we share monthly and day in and day out. And we are all working towards developing the strategies and solutions so that we ensure that East Oakland has a community that has, the ability to breathe air, cleaner air, and live a healthier life. So just wanted to pause here. I know we're almost at time. If anyone has any questions, I just wanted to provide the link between the work we did in February and what we hope to continue in April. Okay, then if not, I will pass it on to Mr. Charles to close us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Anissa. And I want to thank everybody that showed up tonight. I think this was a great opportunity for us to get to know each other, to start rebuilding trust amongst us and our partners, and just to be out here together. It just feels good. And so for you guys who didn't show up, y'all missed something. But y'all sure be here next time, right? Because we want to see how many people we can get in this room together, and how many decisions we can make. And so, does anybody have any event announcements? Okay, I do have one. Out of our meeting with Argent Materials, we will be doing a tree planting event around both of their facilities. And I would love for CERC members to play a prominent role in that, because we want to get some media attention and let people know what we're doing out here.
Thanks, Mr. Charles. Shout out to everyone who joined the meeting online and in person. I know some people online are fearful still of COVID and, having, compromised things. So thank you for your participation, and I'll pass it to Ayana.
Sometimes it's not even a COVID thing, it could be a work thing or a family thing. So, yeah, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. I love that we can all come together in one space and get a lot of work done.
I got to hear a lot from a lot of voices and see a lot of people in person that are only online. So that was beautiful to see that, but I wanted to let you guys know, if you guys are dealing with a stability issue within East Oakland and you are a community member, I am a care coordinator for East Oakland. So what I do is take care of people who are behind on rent and utilities, are looking to move within Oakland. I do assist with that, so you can always take me with that as well as being a coach. So I have a lot of resources. If those are necessary, then I am available. So please hit me. Not only am I your co-chair, I'm also a community member to the council. So I just want to thank you guys for being out and beautiful to see everybody. Not only the district and our community members, but everybody together. So this is a good feeling for me. This is a milestone moment as far as CSC is concerned. So I appreciate you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thanks everyone on Zoom.
Bye.
Bye.